Welcome back to the Coin Jackpot. Today we are going to show you 5 Jefferson Nickels, 5-cent coins, that could change your life. The reason is their minting errors. If you have any of these coins with the minting errors we are about to show you, they could be worth a fortune. In fact, their value can exceed $148,000. Right now, a 1947 Jefferson Nickel has reached values approaching $27,000 in top-tier collector markets. And the strange part is that most people would walk right past one without a second glance. It's a coin worth only 5 cents on paper, yet certain examples have become prized treasures. The question is simple. What separates an ordinary 1947 nickel from one that collectors would fight to own? Tonight, we're following the clues, and as with every good treasure hunt, the biggest surprise comes near the end. Imagine opening an old wooden box in an attic. Inside are dozens of coins collected decades ago. Most are common. Most are worn. Most are worth little more than face value. Then you spot a 1947 Jefferson nickel. At first glance, it seems ordinary, but experienced collectors know that some of the most valuable discoveries begin exactly this way. The year 1947 was a fascinating moment in American history. The nation was settling into post-war life. Industries were expanding. Families were building new futures. Money moved quickly through stores, banks, and businesses. The U.S. Mint responded by producing enormous numbers of coins. Speed was important. Perfection wasn't always possible. And that's where our treasure trail begins. Because every time machinery operates at high volume, mistakes happen. Most disappear. A few survive. Those survivors become collectibles. Every 1947 Jefferson nickel started as a plain metal blank. These blanks traveled through powerful coining presses where engraved dies struck the designs into the metal. One side received Jefferson's portrait, the other received Monticello. The entire process took only a fraction of a second. But when something went wrong during that fraction of a second, unusual coins emerged. A damaged die, a shifted blank, a foreign object, a metal defect. Each created a different type of collectible error. Let's follow the trail and uncover them one by one. The first clue often hides in plain sight. A die crack forms when a working die develops a fracture after repeated use. Instead of creating a perfect strike, the damaged die leaves raised lines on every coin it produces. Many people overlook these lines. Collectors don't. Small die crack examples often sell for $20 to $80. More visible cracks crossing major design elements can reach $100 to $400. Large dramatic cracks associated with late-stage die wear may command $500 or more. The appeal comes from the story. Every crack represents a piece of mint history frozen in metal. But the next clue is much easier to spot. Now imagine a planche entering the press slightly out of alignment. The machinery strikes anyway. The design lands off-center. Part of the image disappears entirely. The result is one of the most visually dramatic mint errors collectors can find. Minor off-center examples often bring $75 to $200. Moderate off-center strikes commonly sell for $250 to $700. Large off-center errors with a visible date can exceed $200. Collectors love these because no magnifying glass is needed. The mistake announces itself immediately, and that's exactly why demand remains strong. The next discovery requires a sharper eye. A double die error occurs during die production rather than during the strike itself. Letters, numbers, or design features appear doubled. The effect can range from subtle to dramatic. For collectors, genuine double dies are among the most exciting discoveries because they're often missed by casual observers. Minor examples may sell for $100 to $300. Clear, obvious double dies frequently bring $500 to $2,500. Premium examples in exceptional condition can move well beyond those figures. Finding one feels less like collecting and more like uncovering hidden treasure. Yet our hunt isn't over. Sometimes the mystery comes from an unexpected intruder. During production, grease, cloth fibers, or metal debris can enter the striking chamber. When the coin is struck, part of the design becomes interrupted. This creates a struck-through error. Each one is unique. A minor struck-through grease example may sell between $30 and $100. More dramatic examples often command $150 to $600. Rare struck-through objects creating unusual patterns can exceed $800 depending on visual appeal. Collectors enjoy these coins because they capture a split-second production accident that should never have escaped the mint. But another clue hides within the metal itself. Not every problem begins with machinery. Sometimes the metal itself contains imperfections. When impurities are trapped within the alloy, parts of the coin's surface may peel, split, or flake. This is known as a lamination error. Minor examples generally bring $50 to $150. More dramatic laminations often sell between $200 and $700. Large, visually striking laminations can climb beyond $1,000. These coins are fascinating because they reveal problems that existed before the strike ever occurred. The flaw was hidden from the very beginning. Now we reach another favorite among treasure hunters. Coin blanks were punched from long metal strips before striking. Occasionally, the punches overlapped. Part of the blank was missing before the coin even entered the press. The finished coin displays a curved missing section called a clip. Smaller clips often sell for $75 to $250. Medium clips can reach $300 to $700. Large dramatic clips may exceed $200. They're instantly recognizable and highly collectible because the error is impossible to ignore. But we've still not uncovered the factor that can transform ordinary value into extraordinary value. Imagine two identical 1947-era nickels. Same error, same rarity, same history. One is heavily worn, the other looks nearly untouched. The difference in value can be enormous. This is where grading enters the story. Professional grading services evaluate surface quality, strike sharpness. Original luster contact marks overall eye appeal. A circulated coin may be worth hundreds. A mint state example could be worth several times more. Higher grades such as MS-65, MS-66, and beyond often attract intense collector competition. Condition isn't just important, it's often the deciding factor. Now let's return to the number we mentioned at the beginning. The stories of 1947 Jefferson. Nickels approaching $27,000 don't come from average circulated coins. They come from exceptional survivors. Coins preserved for decades. Coins with extraordinary quality. Coins representing the finest known examples available to collectors. These pieces are rare not because millions weren't produced. They're rare because almost none survived in such remarkable condition. Time destroyed most. A few escaped, and those survivors became treasures. Somewhere right now, a 1947 Jefferson nickel is waiting to be noticed. Maybe it's tucked inside a coin album inherited from a grandparent. Maybe it's sitting unnoticed in a collection that hasn't been opened in years. Maybe it's hiding among coins someone assumes are ordinary. That's what makes this hunt so fascinating. The treasure isn't locked inside a vault. It isn't buried underground. It may already exist in plain sight. And the next time you come across a 1947 Jefferson nickel, remember this. What if a simple 1946 Jefferson nickel could be connected to values approaching $32,000 under the right circumstances? That's not a fantasy. It's the kind of discovery that keeps collectors searching through old jars, inherited collections, and forgotten coin albums every single day. Most people see 5 cents. A skilled treasure hunter sees possibility. And today we're following the trail of one of the most fascinating nickels from post-war America. Picture America in 1946. The world had just emerged from World War II. Soldiers were returning home. Factories that once produced wartime equipment were shifting back to consumer goods. The nation was changing almost overnight. The U.S. Mint was changing too. During the war years, special silver alloy nickels had been produced to conserve strategic metals. But by 1946, the mint returned to the traditional nickel composition that Americans had known before the conflict. That makes the 1946 Jefferson Nickel something special. It wasn't just another coin. It marked a return to normal life. Millions entered circulation immediately. Most were spent, worn down, and forgotten. But hidden among them were unusual survivors, coins carrying minting mistakes and rare characteristics that would later become collector treasures. And that's where our hunt begins. Every 1946 Jefferson, nickel started its journey as a blank metal disc called a planchet. Those blanks traveled into massive coin presses, operating at incredible speed. One strike. That's all it took. Jefferson appeared on the front. Monticello appeared on the reverse. But machines aren't perfect. A die could crack. A planchet could shift. Foreign material could enter the striking chamber. When that happened, ordinary nickels became future collectibles. Most errors were destroyed. A few escaped. Those survivors are the treasures collectors chase today. Our first stop takes us to one of the most overlooked discoveries. Die cracks develop when the hardened steel dies begin breaking down after repeated use. Instead of producing a flawless image, the damaged die leaves raised lines across the coin. Some cracks are tiny, others stretch dramatically through Jefferson's portrait or across the reverse design. Many collectors enjoy these pieces because they show the actual deterioration of mint equipment. Smaller die crack examples often sell between $20 and $100. More dramatic cracks can bring $150 to $600. Major examples showing advanced die failure occasionally exceed those ranges when demand is strong. Not a bad reward for spotting what many people would ignore, but bigger discoveries lie ahead. Imagine a blank planchet entering the press slightly out of position. The dies strike anyway. Part of the design misses the coin entirely. The result is an off-center strike. These errors are impossible to miss. Collectors love them because the mistake is visible instantly. A modest off-center strike might bring $75 to $250. Examples showing 10% to 20% displacement often reach $300 to $900. More dramatic examples retaining a visible date can exceed $500. The visual impact alone makes them highly collectible. Yet another error often generates even greater excitement. This is where experienced treasure hunters slow down and inspect carefully. A double die isn't created during striking. It originates during die production. The doubling appears on letters, numbers, or design elements. To the untrained eye, it can be easy to miss. To collectors, it's a potential jackpot. Minor doubled die examples may sell for $100 to $400. Stronger examples often bring $500 to $3,000. Rare, premium specimens in outstanding condition can climb significantly higher. The challenge is identifying genuine doubling rather than common machine doubling. That's why knowledgeable collectors spend hours examining coins under magnification. Sometimes the smallest detail unlocks the biggest reward. Now the hunt becomes even more interesting. Sometimes debris enters the striking chamber. Grease, metal shavings, tiny fragments of foreign material. When the coin is struck, part of the design becomes interrupted. This creates a struck-through error. Each example is unique because the obstruction is never exactly the same. Small struck-through grease errors often sell for $25 to $150. More dramatic examples commonly bring $200 to $700, especially unusual struck-through. Pieces can command even stronger premiums due to their one-of-a-kind appearance. Collectors aren't just buying a coin. They're buying evidence of a brief accident that occurred nearly 80 years ago. Before a coin could be struck, blanks had to be punched from large sheets of metal. Sometimes the punching process overlapped. Part of the blank was missing before striking ever began. The finished coin emerged with a curved section absent from its edge. These are clipped planchet errors. Small clips typically sell between $75 and $250. Larger clips often reach $300 to $800. Strong examples with dramatic visual appeal may exceed $1,000. Their popularity comes from simplicity. Anyone can immediately recognize that something unusual happened, and collectors appreciate errors that tell a clear story. Here's an error many casual collectors overlook. Occasionally, impurities inside the metal caused portions of the coin's surface to peel or separate. These are called lamination errors. The coin may appear cracked, flaking, or layered. Minor examples often trade for $50 to $200. More dramatic laminations can reach $250 to $800. Large, eye-catching examples are especially desirable because they reveal problems hidden within the metal itself. They're reminders that even the raw materials used by the mint weren't always perfect. Now comes the most important clue in the entire treasure hunt: condition. Collectors often focus on the error and forget about preservation. That's a mistake. A worn error coin may sell for a modest amount. The same error in pristine condition can multiply in value several times over. Professional grading services. Evaluate. Surface preservation. Strike quality. Luster marks and abrasions. Overall eye appeal. A coin graded mint state may command dramatically more than a circulated example. Move into higher grades such as MS65, MS66, or beyond, and values can rise rapidly. This is where truly exceptional 1946 Jefferson Nickels separate themselves from the crowd. And now we return to that astonishing figure from the opening, the highest value. 1946. Jefferson Nickels aren't usually sitting in pocket change. They're elite survivors. Coins preserved for decades with remarkable care. Coins representing the finest examples known to collectors. When rarity, exceptional grading, and collector demand align, values can approach the kind of numbers that seem impossible for a 5-cent coin. That's where stories of nickels reaching extraordinary levels begin, and those stories keep treasure hunters searching. Tonight, somewhere in a drawer, a box, a collection, or an old family album, a 1946 Jefferson nickel is waiting. Maybe it's an overlooked error. Maybe it's an unusually high-grade survivor. Maybe nobody has examined it closely in decades. The hunt isn't over. In fact, it never ends. Because the most exciting part of coin collecting isn't the treasures we've already found. What if I told you a 1952 Jefferson nickel, something many people would ignore in a jar of spare change, has been connected to sales, approaching $19,000 under the right circumstances? Sounds unbelievable, right? But before you dismiss that worn nickel sitting in a drawer, there are several rare 1952 varieties and minting mistakes that have turned ordinary 5-cent coins into serious collector prizes. And the most valuable examples aren't always the ones people expect. Stay with me, because the biggest surprises come later. The 1952 Jefferson nickel emerged during a fascinating period in American history. The nation was moving beyond the hardships of World War II and entering a new era of growth. New cars filled highways, televisions were becoming household staples, and the U.S. Mint was producing millions of coins to support a rapidly expanding economy. Yet behind the scenes, the minting process was far from perfect. Every day, coin presses operated under intense pressure. Dies wore out. Metal planchets shifted. Equipment occasionally malfunctioned. Most mistakes were caught and destroyed. A few escaped, and those survivors are what collectors hunt today. The 1952 Jefferson nickel may look ordinary at first glance, but hidden among the millions produced are examples that can command hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars depending on rarity, error type, and condition. But before we explore those valuable mistakes, let's quickly understand how these coins were made. The process started with blank metal discs known as planchets. These blanks were fed into high-speed presses where engraved dies struck, both sides simultaneously, creating the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and Monticello on the reverse. The striking process happened incredibly fast. When everything worked perfectly, the result was a normal nickel, but when a die cracked, shifted, became damaged, or struck improperly prepared planchets, unusual errors were created. Many were unnoticed at the time. Today, Those mistakes are among the most valuable 1952 nickels in existence. Let's examine them one by one. One of the most popular error types among Jefferson nickel collectors is the die crack. A die crack develops when the steel die begins to fracture after repeated use. Each time the damaged die strikes a coin, a raised line appears on the surface. Some cracks are tiny and barely noticeable. Others stretch dramatically across Jefferson's portrait or through Monticello. Collectors especially value large, obvious examples because they clearly demonstrate the die's deterioration. For ordinary circulated examples, values often range from $20 to $100 more. Dramatic die cracks can reach $150 to $500, and exceptional examples found on high-grade coins have sold for even more when collector demand is strong. Not bad for a coin originally worth just 5 cents. But that's only the beginning. Now let's move to a much more dramatic error. An off-center strike occurs when the planche isn't properly positioned during striking. Instead of receiving a perfectly centered design, part of the image is missing. The more dramatic the shift, the more attention the coin receives. A minor 5% off-center strike might bring $50 to $150, a 10% to 20% off-center example can reach $200 to $800. If the date remains visible while a large portion of the design is missing, collectors often compete aggressively. Exceptional examples have sold for $1,000 or more, especially when combined with strong preservation. These coins stand out immediately, making them favorites among error collectors. But the next error can be even more valuable. This is where things become particularly interesting. A double die occurs during die creation, not during the coin strike itself. The result is visible doubling on letters, numbers, or design elements. Many people mistake machine doubling for a true double die, but experienced collectors know the difference. Authentic double dies are much scarcer. A subtle double die 1952 nickel might sell for $100 to $400. Stronger examples with obvious lettering. Separation can bring $500 to $2,500. In top condition, rare double die varieties attract serious collector attention because they combine visual appeal with genuine scarcity. And as you'll soon discover, condition can multiply these values dramatically. Sometimes foreign material enters the striking chamber. Grease, cloth fibers, metal fragments, or debris can become trapped between the die and planche. When this happens, part of the design may appear missing or distorted. These are known as struck-through errors. Small struck-through grease errors often sell for $25 to $100 more. Dramatic examples involving visible foreign objects may reach $150 to $600 unique, or visually spectacular struck-through errors can bring even higher premiums because no two examples are exactly alike. Collectors love errors that tell a story, and struck-through nickels often do exactly that. Before a coin was struck, blanks were punched from long metal strips. Occasionally, the punching process overlapped improperly. The result was a blank missing a curved section. When struck, the coin retained that missing area. Here's where many collectors make a costly mistake. They focus entirely on the error and ignore the grade. A rare error on a heavily worn coin may sell for a few $100. The same error in mint state condition could be worth several times more. Professional grading services evaluate factors such as surface preservation, strike quality, luster eye appeal, overall condition. A coin graded MS63 may be valuable. An MS65 example can be dramatically more desirable. And coins reaching MS66, MS67, or higher enter a completely different market. This is how certain 1952 Jefferson nickels have achieved remarkable auction results. The combination of rarity, error type, and exceptional preservation creates the perfect storm for collectors. What's fascinating is that many valuable 1952 nickels weren't discovered immediately. Some spent decades in collections, others remained hidden in old jars, family coin albums, and forgotten boxes. Every year, collectors continue searching rolls, estate collections, and inherited coin holdings hoping to uncover a rare survivor. Most won't find a four-figure coin, a few will, and occasionally, someone discovers a nickel that changes everything they thought they knew about pocket change. So the next time a 1952 Jefferson nickel crosses your path, don't judge it by face value alone. Look closely for die cracks, off-center strikes, doubled dies, struck-through errors, clipped planchets, and signs of exceptional preservation. Because somewhere among those seemingly ordinary nickels could be a coin worth hundreds, thousands, or perhaps one that surprises even seasoned collectors. And the most intriguing part? The next undiscovered 1952 nickel treasure may already be sitting in someone's collection, waiting for the right person to notice. These are known as clipped planchet errors, smaller. Clips often sell for $75 to $250 larger. Obvious clips can reach $300 to $1,000 well preserved. Examples with strong eye appeal remain highly desirable because the error is immediately visible. Yet one final factor matters more than any error we've discussed: condition. A single 1948 Jefferson nickel has been associated with values approaching $22,000 in elite collector circles. And here's the surprising part. Most people would never look twice at it. It isn't made of gold. It isn't a giant coin. It's just a nickel. But hidden among ordinary 1948 nickels are rare errors, unusual varieties, and high-grade survivors that have turned pocket change into serious money. Tonight we're going treasure hunting, and the final discovery might be the one sitting unnoticed in a collection right now. Imagine America in 1948. The war was over, factories were booming, and millions of coins were flowing through the economy. Cash registers rang non-stop. Vending machines multiplied across the country. Demand for circulating coinage was enormous. For the U.S. Mint, speed mattered. Presses operated day and night. Dies wore down. Equipment was pushed hard. Most coins emerged exactly as intended, but not all of them. A handful escaped with mistakes. Tiny mistakes, the kind that looked insignificant at first glance. Years later, those same mistakes became targets for collectors who spend countless hours searching coin rolls, estate collections, and forgotten albums. The 1948 Jefferson nickel became one of those fascinating treasure hunt coins where rarity often hides in plain sight. And that's where our search begins. Every 1948 Jefferson nickel started as a blank metal disc. The blanks moved through powerful presses where engraved dies struck the design into the metal. Jefferson appeared on the front. Monticello appeared on the back. The process sounds simple, but when machinery runs millions of times, problems happen. A die may crack. A blank may shift. Debris may enter the press. A damaged die may continue striking coins long after it should have been replaced. Each mistake creates a different kind of collectible treasure. Let's follow the clues. Many collectors overlook die cracks because they're not always dramatic. That's a mistake. A die crack forms when the steel die begins developing fractures from repeated use. Every strike transfers those cracks onto the coin. Some appear as thin raised lines. Others snake dramatically across Jefferson's portrait or through the Monticello building. Collectors love large, obvious examples because they tell a story of equipment slowly breaking down. Smaller die crack examples often sell for around $25 to $100. More dramatic examples can reach $150 to $500. Major die state examples with spectacular crack patterns may climb even higher depending on collector demand. Not life-changing money yet, but our treasure hunt is just getting started. Now things get much more exciting. An off-center strike occurs when the blank planchet isn't perfectly positioned during the strike. Part of the design misses the coin entirely. The result is instantly visible. A normal nickel looks balanced. This is where experienced collectors start paying close attention. A doubled die is created during the die-making process itself. Instead of a normal image, portions of lettering or design elements appear doubled. The key is finding genuine doubling. Many coins show machine doubling, which is usually less valuable. True doubled dies are much scarcer. Subtle double die examples may bring $100 to $400. Strong examples showing obvious separation can reach $500 to $2,500. Exceptional pieces with sharp detail and certified authenticity may command even stronger premiums. For treasure hunters, discovering a genuine double die feels like finding buried treasure without ever leaving home. But there's another clue hidden deeper in the hunt. Imagine a tiny piece of debris finding its way between the die and coin blank. Maybe grease, maybe cloth fibers, maybe a fragment of metal. When the strike occurs, part of the design becomes distorted or missing. That's a struck-through error. Every example is unique. No two tell exactly the same story. Minor struck-through grease errors often trade between $30 and $120. More dramatic examples frequently sell for $150 to $700. Rare struck-through objects that create unusual patterns can command even stronger collector interest. These errors are fascinating because they preserve a split-second accident from more than 70 years ago. And collectors love accidents that shouldn't have happened. An off-center nickel looks like something went seriously wrong. And collectors love that. A small off-center error may bring $50 to $200. More dramatic examples, showing 10% to 20% displacement, often sell for $250 to $800. Large off-center strikes with the date still visible can exceed $1,000 in strong collector markets. The more dramatic the appearance, the greater the excitement. But another error often creates even stronger bidding battles. Before striking, coin blanks were punched from large sheets of metal. Occasionally, the punching process overlapped incorrectly. Part of the blank was missing before the strike even occurred. The resulting coin carries a curved missing section known as a clip. The effect is immediately noticeable. Smaller clips may bring $75 to $250. Medium clips often sell for $250 to $600. Large dramatic clips with strong visual appeal can exceed $1,000. The best examples don't require magnification. One glance tells the story. But we're still not at the biggest factor influencing value. Here's what separates ordinary finds from headline-making discoveries. Condition. A collector may find two identical error nickels. One is heavily worn, the other looks nearly untouched. The difference in value can be enormous. Professional grading companies evaluate surface quality, luster strike, sharpness, preservation. Eye appeal, a circulated error might sell for a few $100s. The same error in mint state condition could sell for several times more. This is why some 1948 Jefferson Nickels attract intense attention. Collectors aren't simply buying an error. They're buying rarity combined with exceptional preservation. And that's where the biggest values begin appearing. Now we return to that shocking number from the beginning. The highest value 1948 Jefferson Nickels aren't necessarily error coins. Sometimes they're extraordinary condition rarities, coins that somehow survived decades without significant wear, coins with blazing luster, coins that grading services place among the finest known examples. When rarity, demand, and elite preservation align, values can climb dramatically. Most 1948 nickels won't reach those levels, but the possibility keeps collectors searching. Every collection, every coin album, every inherited box, every forgotten drawer, the hunt never truly ends. Somewhere tonight, a 1948 Jefferson nickel is sitting unnoticed. Maybe it's hiding in an old collection. Maybe it's mixed with ordinary coins. Maybe its owner has no idea what they're holding. The question isn't whether valuable 1948 nickels exist. We already know they do. The real question is this. A 1983. Jefferson Nickel has been linked to values approaching $33,000 in the highest levels of the collector market, and that's exactly why experienced coin hunters never ignore this date. At first glance, it looks like a coin that should be everywhere. Common, ordinary, forgettable. But hidden among millions of 1983 nickels are rare errors, exceptional survivors, and overlooked treasures that have turned pocket change into serious money. Tonight, we're following the trail, and trust me, the most surprising clue comes at the very end. Most treasure hunts begin with something obviously rare: a gold coin, a silver dollar, a centuries-old artifact, not a 1983 nickel. That's what makes this story so interesting. In 1983, America was entering a new chapter. Personal computers were appearing in homes. Arcades were packed with players. New technology was changing everyday life. Meanwhile, at the U.S. Mint, production lines were moving fast. Millions of Jefferson Nickels rolled off the presses. Most entered circulation immediately. Most lived ordinary lives. But a small number emerged carrying mistakes, and others survived in remarkable condition, while their counterparts became scratched, worn, and damaged. Today, collectors search relentlessly for those hidden survivors, because sometimes the best treasure is hiding where nobody thinks to look. Every 1983 Jefferson nickel started as a blank metal planchet. These blanks traveled through high-speed presses, where dies struck Jefferson's portrait onto one side and Monticello onto the other. The process was efficient, fast, relentless. Thousands of coins could be struck every hour. And whenever machines operate at that scale, unusual things happen. A die may crack, a planchet may shift, a foreign object may interfere with the strike, a die may begin deteriorating long before it gets replaced. Most defective coins are caught. Some escape. Those escaped pieces become today's treasures. Let's examine the clues. Our first discovery isn't always dramatic. In fact, many people miss it completely. A die crack develops when a striking die begins to fracture from repeated use. The damaged die transfers those cracks onto every coin it strikes. The result appears as raised lines across the surface. Small die crack examples often sell between $15 and $75. Larger, more dramatic cracks can reach $100 to $400, exceptional examples. Showing advanced die deterioration may exceed $500 when collector demand is strong. The appeal isn't just rarity, it's the story of a tool slowly breaking down while continuing to strike coins, but the next clue is much easier to spot. Now imagine a planchet entering the press slightly out of position. The strike occurs anyway. Part of the design misses the coin. The result is an off-center error. Collectors love these because they're immediately recognizable. No magnification required. A small off-center strike may sell for $75 to $200. Moderate examples often bring $250 to $800. Large off-center strikes with a visible date can exceed $500. The more dramatic the displacement, the stronger the collector interest tends to be. And yet some of the most exciting discoveries require a closer look. This is where careful treasure hunters gain an advantage. A doubled die is created during die manufacturing. The doubling becomes part of the die itself and appears on every coin struck by that die. Look closely at letters, numbers, and design details. That's where genuine doubling often reveals itself. Minor doubled die examples can sell between $100 and $300. More noticeable examples frequently command $500 to $2,000. Strong, certified doubled dies in premium condition may climb even higher. Many collectors spend years searching for authentic doubled dies because finding one feels like uncovering a hidden code left behind by the mint. But another clue may be hiding where nobody expects. Not every treasure comes from damaged equipment. Sometimes it comes from something entering the striking chamber: grease, metal fragments, tiny debris. When the strike occurs, the obstruction prevents part of the design from forming normally. The result is a struck-through error. Minor examples often bring $25 to $100. More dramatic struck-through errors commonly sell between $150 and $700. Rare examples involving unusual foreign material may exceed $1,000. Collectors appreciate these because each one captures a unique moment of chaos during production. No two are exactly alike. Before striking, blanks must be punched from large metal sheets. Occasionally, the punching process overlaps. Part of the blank is missing. The coin is struck anyway. The result is a clipped plancher error. Small clips typically sell for $75 to $250. Larger clips often bring $300 to $800. Exceptional examples with dramatic visual appeal can exceed $200. The beauty of this error is simplicity. One glance tells you something unusual happened, and collectors love errors that don't require explanation. Now we move into more dramatic territory. Sometimes a die doesn't merely crack, it breaks. When part of the die breaks away, large raised areas or unusual metal formations can appear on the struck coin. These are often called die break errors. Smaller examples may sell for $100 to $300. More significant die breaks frequently reach $500 to $1,500. Major examples with strong visual impact can command even more. These coins represent a production problem that became impossible for mint workers to ignore, yet some escaped anyway. And those survivors are highly collectible today. At this point, you might think the error determines the value. Only partly. The real multiplier is condition. Imagine two identical error nickels. One spent years in circulation, the other remained untouched. The difference can be staggering. Professional grading services evaluate original luster surface preservation strike quality contact, marks overall eye appeal. A coin graded mint state can be worth several times more than the same coin in circulated condition. As grades climb higher, values often accelerate dramatically. This is especially true for modern nickels, because while many were produced, very few survived in exceptional condition. That's the hidden challenge. Finding the error is only half the battle. Finding it in elite condition is where the real treasure begins. Now let's return to the number that started this hunt. The stories of 1983. Jefferson Nickels approaching $33,000 don't involve ordinary pocket change. They involve extraordinary survivors, coins preserved with remarkable care, coins certified among the finest known examples, coins that escaped circulation almost entirely. When rarity, demand, and elite grading converge, values can rise far beyond what most people imagine possible for a nickel. That's why advanced collectors never stop searching. They know extraordinary finds still exist. Right now, somewhere in a forgotten drawer, an old coin jar, a family collection, or an unopened album, a 1983 Jefferson nickel is waiting. Maybe it's carrying a subtle doubled die. Maybe it's an overlooked off-center strike. Maybe it's simply an exceptionally preserved survivor that nobody has examined closely. That's the thrill of the hunt. The treasure may already exist. The discovery simply hasn't happened yet. And the next time a 1983 Jefferson nickel crosses your path, remember?